Hello and welcome to A-Level Math. This is the third video in the series Straight Lines. In the previous two videos, we covered some basic concepts of straight lines and we covered some different forms of equations of straight line like point slope form or 2-point form or the intercept form. But we didn't take up too many examples over there. This video just walks you through many examples so that you are very much confident in numerical questions as well. So this particular video assumes that you have already seen the theoretical aspects that we covered in the previous videos. If you haven't already seen them, please click on the I button above. So let's get started. Prove that the lines x plus 2y minus 9 is equal to 0 and 2x plus 4y plus 5 is equal to 0 are parallel. Remember that in the very first video we discussed that if two lines are parallel, then their slopes are actually equal. And we already know how to find out the slope for a line whose equation is known. So consider this line for example. It has the equation x plus 2y minus 9 is equal to 0. To find out its slope, we make y as the subject. So we get 2y is equal to 9 minus x. And then we get y is equal to 9 by 2 minus x by 2. So let's think about minus x by 2 as minus 1 by 2 times x. So the coefficient of x is actually minus 1 by 2, which gives us the slope of this line. So call this slope as m1. So the slope of the first line is actually minus 1 by 2. Consider this second line. The equation is 2x plus 4y plus 5 is equal to 0. We again make y as the subject. So we get 4y is equal to minus 5 minus 2x. So we get y is equal to minus 5 by 4 minus 2x divided by 4. So we get the slope m2 to be equal to minus 2 by 4 is equal to minus 1 by 2. So you see that these two slopes turn out to be equal. And hence we can conclude that these two lines are parallel because they're having the equal slopes. So there is one more thing that I need you to understand, and that's actually a trick. So consider this first equation. We have x plus 2y minus 9 is equal to 0. You multiply this entire equation with 2 on both the sides. So what you get? 2x plus 4y minus 18 is equal to 0. So notice that this 2x plus 4y and this 2x plus 4y are actually equal. And not just this, if you take any particular line with 2x plus 4y and suppose this constant is k, you can take any particular value of k as you like. So you can take k equal to minus 2, minus 3, 5, 6, minus 3.5, decimal fractions, positive, negative, anything. All of these lines will be actually parallel to each other as well as to this line. So what I want to say is that if you have any particular line, suppose ax plus by plus c is equal to 0, then any other line with the same coefficients of x and y, just the constant may be different, and all of these lines will be parallel to this line. You can take any value of k and all of these will be parallel to this line. And of course it's obvious, there is not just one line which is parallel to a given line. Say for example, if I give you this line, there are infinitely many lines which are parallel to this line. So this one thing you need to remember: whenever you'll be given a line, there is an easy method to find out a line which is parallel to the given line. We'll be taking an example in the questions to come, just bear with me. So let's take up the next question for the time being. Show that these two lines are perpendicular to each other. So remember what we discussed in perpendicularism, that if two lines are perpendicular, then the product of their slopes is minus 1. So what you do, you find out the slope of this line, you find out the slope of this line. So for the first line, you make y as the subject, you get 18y is equal to 27x plus 25, you get y is equal to 27x by 18 plus 25 divided by 18. You can cancel it out with 9. 9 3s are 27, 9 2s are 18. So this gives you 3x by 2 plus 25 divided by 18. So the slope of the first line is actually 3 by 2. In a similar way, you can find out the slope of the second line and you will be getting minus 2 by 3. Just try it out, pause the video and try it out on your own. And if you multiply these two, what do you get? M1 M2 is equal to 3 by 2 times minus 2 by 3. 2 and 2 cancel out, 3 and 3 cancel out, you are left with minus 1. So you can see that the product of their slopes is actually minus 1, and hence the lines are actually perpendicular to each other. So this is the proof that if you can show that the product of the slopes is minus 1, then you can conclude that the lines are perpendicular. Okay, there is one more interesting thing you need to know. So remember what we discussed in parallel lines, that the coefficients are equal. For perpendicularism also there is a particular, a trick. So suppose you are given a line. So now if you want to find out a line that is perpendicular to a given line, what you need to do, just switch these coefficients. So you make this 27 as the coefficient of y and this 18 as the coefficient of x. So 18x and 27y. But there's not all. You also need to change this sign. If it is minus, make it plus. If it is plus, make it minus. And then take it plus k to be equal to 0. For different values of k, you will be getting different lines which are perpendicular to this line. And of course it is true, there is not just one line which is perpendicular to this line. There are infinitely many lines which are perpendicular to this line. So you keep on varying this value of k, you'll be getting different values, different lines which are perpendicular to this given line. We'll be taking up some problems to make it even more clear, but just remember the rule of thumb. For parallel lines, keep these coefficients same, and for perpendicular lines, you can switch these coefficients and switch these sign. So switch and switch. This is the rule for perpendicularism. Okay, let's take up a question. Find the angle made by the line this with the positive direction of the x-axis. So first of all, what do we need to do? Just find out its slope and then I'll tell you what to do. So the slope can be found out by making y as a subject. So root 3y is equal to 6 minus x. So y is equal to 6 by root 3 minus x by root 3. So we can think of this as minus 1 by root 3. So the slope is actually minus 1 by root 3. Now the question asks you to find out the angle which this line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis. So of course, suppose that this theta is the angle which this line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis, and remember we call this angle to be the inclination of the line, and we also know that tan of this inclination is actually the slope. So we have tan theta to be equal to minus 1 by root 3. Now can you tell me what is theta? So because tan theta is negative, so we can take a theta on the second quadrant. That means theta will be somewhere between 90 and 180. So we know that 1 by root 3 corresponds to a value of tan 30 degree, right? So if you want to find out what is the value corresponding to minus 1 by root 3, you can just do tan 180 minus 30 degrees. Because 180 minus 30 degree goes in the second quadrant, and 180 is actually pi by 2 times 2, which is even. So tan remains in tan, so it will actually give you minus tan 30 degree, and you'll be getting minus 1 by root 3. So this is how you can find out, just 180 minus 30 degree. So compare it with the first quadrant value 30 degree, and then 180 minus 30 degree will give you a value in the second quadrant. This is the trick that you can remember. So we get theta to be equal to 180 minus 30, which is equal to 150 degrees. Okay, so this is the angle which the line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis. Another question, find the angles between the lines this and this. So you remember that we had already discussed in the previous video that to find out the angle theta between two lines, we have a formula m1 minus m2 divided by 1 plus m1 m2. So what is m1 and m2? M1 and m2 are the slopes of these two lines. So to find out the slope of this line, you just make y as the subject, and similarly for this you make y as the subject. So here you will be getting y is equal to 1 minus root 3x. Your m1 will be minus root 3, and in here in the second line you'll be having y is equal to minus 1 minus x by root 3 by root 3. So the slope in your second case is minus 1 by root 3. You put down these two values of m1 and m2 in here, simplify and find out what your tan theta turns out to be. and depending upon that value you can find out what is the angle between the lines. So let me quickly do it for you. I'll just pause the video and show you the answers, but you should try it on your own. All right. So you see that on simplification you get mod minus 1 by root 3. So what we are getting is that tan theta is equal to mod minus 1 by root 3. Now what this mod does is that it transforms everything into something positive. So even if we are having negative inside the modulus, the output will be 1 by root 3. So can you tell me what is the value of theta for which tan theta is 1 by root 3? So theta is equal to 30 degrees. So this is the angle between the required two lines. So the angle between these two lines, suppose these are the two lines, and the angle between them is 30 degrees. All right. Next question. Find the equation of a line which cuts off an intercept of 4 units on negative direction of the y-axis and makes an angle of 120 degree with the positive direction of the x-axis. Let's try to quickly draw the diagram. So let's see how it looks. It says that the line cuts off the y-axis at 4 units in the negative direction. That means it cuts off the y-axis at 0, minus 4, and it makes 120 degrees with the positive direction of the x-axis. So our line will be something like this, right? Because this angle is 120 degrees and it has to pass through this point as well. So how do we find out the equation of the line? Quite simple. First of all, you are already given the inclination of the line. So given the inclination, we know that the slope is actually tan theta, which is tan 120 degree. So you can quickly find out the slope, which will be equal to tan 180 minus 60, which is minus tan 60 is equal to minus root 3. So this is the slope of the line. Now remember what we taught in the previous lectures, that if you want to find out the equation of a line, take an arbitrary point x comma y, and then what you can do is that you know that this line already passes through this point. So the slope of these 2 points is actually equal to minus root 3. So y minus minus 4, which is y plus 4 divided by x minus 0 is equal to minus root 3. You simplify this, cross multiply, transport, and then you can find out the equation of the line. Let's quickly move on to the next question. Find the equation of a line for which tan theta is 1 by 3. So that means they have already given the slope. The slope is equal to 1 by 3 and the x-intercept is equal to 5 units. So it's a very much similar question to the previous one. They have given us the x-intercept in this case. So 5, 0 is the point which we know that the line passes through this point, and it is having a slope equal to 1 by 3. So it is positively sloped. So it should be something like this, even though it won't make much of a difference in understanding, but you should always try to be technically correct because the slope is positive. So line should be upward rising. If the line is something like this, its slope is negative, okay, because it is falling. So the slope is 1 by 3. You take an arbitrary point x comma y on the line, and then you find out the slope of this line segment and equate it to 1 by 3. So I'll quickly write it down. 5 minus 0 divided by x minus 5 is equal to 1 by 3. Cross multiply, simplify, and find out the answer. That will give you the equation of the line. Next question. Find the equation of the line passing through the point 2 comma minus 5 and parallel to the line 2x minus 3y is equal to 7. You remember what I told you, the trick that we need to use for the lines that are parallel? So this is a line that is given. We need to find out a line which is parallel to this line, but it should also pass through 2 comma minus 5. Okay, forget about this point for now. So we know that for any line to be parallel to this line, it should be of the form 2x minus 3y plus k is equal to 0. You can keep on varying this k. For different values of k, you will be getting different lines which are perpendicular to this line. But now how do we find out the k for our particular line which we want to find out? Of course, there will be some additional information that will be always given to you, which will help you to find out the value of this k. In here we are given that the line, required line, passes through the point 2 comma minus 5. So you just put down 2 in place of x and minus 5 in place of y. So what do you get? 2 times 2 minus 3 times minus 5 plus k is equal to 0. So you get 4 plus 15 plus k is equal to 0. So you get k is equal to minus 19. You put down the value of k over here and will give you the answer. 2x minus 3y minus 19 is equal to 0 is the required equation of the line. So always remember, whenever you are given a line, whenever you are asked to find out a line which is parallel to some line, always take the same coefficients and then plus k is equal to 0. This k will have to be determined based on the condition. They will always, the question will always give you one condition using which you can find out this value of k. Okay, because there are many lines which are parallel to this line. So what is their final answer? You have to have some additional information, right? So this is the information that the question will be giving you, that it passes through so and so point, or it is having so and so slope. You can always use that to find out the required value of k and write down your final answer. Just replace the value of k that you get. So let's take up one more question, but now the same thing but for perpendicularism. So you are asked to find out the equation of a line which passes through so and so point and is perpendicular to some line. Remember what I told you, the trick for perpendicularism? You just change these coefficients and just change this sign as well. If it is minus, make it plus. If it is plus, make it minus. So our required line will be something like 1y and 3x. Here it is minus, so we'll take plus, and then plus k is equal to 0. So these are all the lines which are all perpendicular, which are all perpendicular to this given line. So all of these lines are actually perpendicular to this given line. So now how do we find out k? The same thing, you just put minus 2 in place of x and minus 4 in place of y. So what do you get? Minus 4 plus 3 times minus 2 plus k is equal to 0. So minus 10 plus k is equal to 0 gives you k is equal to 10. And you just again plug this value of k over here. So you'll be getting 3x plus y. I'm just writing x first and then y. It's gentleman's behavior. You may also write it as y plus 3x, but I am a good boy. I will always write x first. So 3x plus y plus 10 is equal to 0 is the final required equation of the line. Okay. Find the equation of the line whose y-intercept is minus 3 and which is perpendicular to this given line. Again, they are saying that our required line is perpendicular to this line. So our required line will be something like 2x, 3y and a plus in between, plus k is equal to 0. And we are also given the y-intercept. So if we are given the y-intercept and they are saying that the y-intercept is minus 3, that means the line passes through 0 comma minus 3. So all you need to do is just put down the value of x as 0 and y as minus 3 and find out the value of k, and then just put it down in place of k to write down your final answer and verify that the answer turns out to be 2x plus 3y plus 9 is equal to 0. This should turn out to be your final answer. I leave it to you as an exercise. Next question. Find the equation of the lines through the point. See, this question tells you something. Equations of the lines. It may happen that you will be getting more than one line as your final answer. So that means you may get more than one equation, and that means more than one straight line as your final answer. So find the equation of the lines through the point 3 comma 2 which makes an angle of 45 degree with this particular line. So we are having a particular line x minus 2y is equal to 3. Let's call this x minus 2y is equal to 3. This is the line that is given to us, and we are said that there is a line which makes an angle of 45 degree with this line. So suppose our required line is this one. It makes an angle of 45 degree with this line and it passes through some point 3 comma 2. So it passes through 3 comma 2 and we need to find out the equation of this line. And it may happen that there are more than one, it may happen that there are more than one lines of such kind. You may think, suppose this is the point 3 comma 2, right? And we want our line to be inclined at 45 degree, right? So this is another possibility. This line is also at 45 degree with the previous line and it also passes through 3 comma 2. So it may happen that you may end up with multiple lines which satisfy the same properties. So there can be 2, 3 or 4 lines sometimes in some questions. You need not worry about it. These things are common and you should be habituated with it. So what to do? So what is the slope of the given line? Let's quickly make y as the subject. 2y is equal to x minus 3. Y is equal to x by 2 minus 3 by 2. So my slope in for this line is actually equal to half. Let's call our slope to be m1. Okay. Now assume that the required line, the line that we are interested in, is having a slope equal to m2. Now you remember the formula, tan theta is equal to m1 minus m2 divided by 1 plus m1 m2. When did we use this formula? We used it when we were interested in the intersection of angle of intersection of two lines, and this is what the question is saying, that these two lines are inclined at an angle of 45 degrees. So theta is actually 45 degree in my case. M1 is actually equal to half, and here also half, and we need to find out the value of M2. So let's just quickly simplify. What is tan 45? Tan 45 is 1 divided by, we multiply the numerator and denominator by 2 and see what we get. So we get mod 1 minus 2m2 divided by 2 plus m2. Now if the modulus of something is actually 1, then the inside thing can be equal to 1 or minus 1. So what I'm saying is that we want to somehow get rid of this modulus, right? So we cannot just make it invisible. We have to think about it. So okay, let me give you a hint. What if I say that if mod x is equal to 5, then what can you say about the values of x? The value of x can be either plus 5, or the value of x can also be minus 5. Why? Because in any case, mod of 5 will also be 5 and mod of minus 5 will also be 5. So x can take any of the two values. Either it can take 5 or it can also take minus 5. What I'm trying to say is that if you want to eliminate the modulus, if you want to remove this modulus, then write down plus or minus on the other side. This is a rule of thumb that you can either mug up, or if you want to understand, I've told you why we are having plus and minus both, because plus 5 and minus 5 will both give you the output equal to 5. So this is the reason, or this is the trick how we can get rid of this modulus. So 1 minus 2m2 divided by 2 plus m2 is either plus 1 or equal to minus 1. So in the first case, if you take it to be equal to, sorry, so in the first case, if you take it equal to plus 1, you'll be getting some value of m2. And in the second case, if you take equal to minus 1, you'll be getting some value of m2. Pause the video, and I'm just quickly doing it and verify that whether you're getting the same results or not. So these are the two values that you are getting, you must have been getting. So the first value is 3 and the second value is minus 1 by 3. And remember what I told you, that there can be possibilities that there are multiple lines with the same features. So we have found out two slopes, that means there are two lines with the same property. So if you take 3, so if you take this 3, then we have a slope of the line and we have a point through which the line passes. So suppose we are given that the slope of the line is 3 and it passes through 3 comma 2, then you can take an arbitrary point x comma y and find out the slope of this line segment and equate it to 3. You'll be getting one equation. So for example, you'll be getting y minus 2 by x minus 3 is equal to 3 as your first equation. And if you take the slope to be equal to minus 1 by 3, then your second equation will be y minus 2 by x minus 3 is equal to minus 1 by 3. So these two equations you need to simplify and give the answer. Let's take up one more question quickly. Find the equation of the line which passes through this point and the sum of whose intercepts is 14. So we have to find out the equation of the line. Suppose this is the line. When we are given that the sum of the intercepts is 14. So suppose that these are the intercepts. So these are the intercepts. Assume that this length is equal to a units and assume that this length is equal to b units. So this point is a comma 0 and this point is 0 comma b, and we already know from the points, sorry, the intercept form, that the equation of this line is going to be x by a plus y by b is equal to 1. This is what the intercept form says. X by x intercept plus y by y intercept is equal to 1. If you are forgetting this thing, or if you're not remembering this thing, please go and watch my previous videos. So now we have to find out the values of a and b to get the answer, to get the required equation. And we have some information. First information is that the line passes through 3, 4. So that means this equation should satisfy this point. That means we can put 3 in place of x and 4 in place of y, and it will satisfy the equation. And another thing is that the sum of the intercepts is 14. What is the x and the y intercept, a and b? The question says that, okay, the sum of these intercepts is 14. So you see, we have got two equations. This is the equation number 1 and this is the equation number 2. All you need to do is just solve these two equations simultaneously, find out the values of a and b, and just plug them over here, cross multiply, simplify, whatever you want to do, simplify, and write down your answer in terms of something like 4x plus 5y is equal to 5 or something like that. Okay, so if you are not sure how to solve it, I'll give you a hint. You can express b in terms of a. B is equal to 14 minus a, and then you can put down the value of b over here. So you'll be getting 14 minus a. Then you can take the LCM as a into 14 minus a. You can do stuffs, cross multiply. You'll be getting a quadratic equation in terms of a, and you'll be getting two values of a. Okay, so you'll be getting two values of a. A is equal to something comma something. So if you use this one and put it over here, you'll be getting some value of b. And if you use this value of a, put it over here again, you'll be getting some other value of b. So you'll be getting two combinations of a and b, right? So this particular combination and this particular combination, these two combinations will give you different answers. If you use this combination, put on the values of a and b over here, you'll be getting one line. And if you use this combination and put on the values over here again, you'll be getting another straight line. So there are actually two lines that you'll be getting. No problem. I told you it can happen. It's a common thing. You can get multiple lines with same features. Okay. Next, if m a comma b is the midpoint of the line segment intercepted between the axes, show that the equation of the line is x by a plus y by b is equal to 2. Okay, the question says that there is a particular line and the midpoint of the line segment intercepted between the axes. So what is the line segment between the axes? This is the line segment intercepted between the axes, and the question says that its midpoint, this point a comma b, is actually a comma b, I'm sorry. So the question says that this midpoint is a comma b, and we need to prove that this is going to be the equation of the line. So that means we have to prove that this line, this particular line, will have the equation x by a plus y by b is equal to 2. This is the equation of the line. So assume that our x-intercept is c units and y-intercept is d units. We cannot use a and b because they are already used in the question. So we have to define our own variables. So if you assume that this x-intercept is c units, then this point becomes c comma 0. And if you assume that this intercept is d units, then this point becomes 0 comma d. And because c and d are the x and y intercepts, then my equation actually becomes x by c plus y by d is equal to 1. Okay, now the question says that a comma b is the midpoint of 0 comma d and c comma 0. So you already know, we have learned that to find out the midpoint of any two given points, all you need to do is just add up the x coordinates and divide by 2. So 0 plus c divided by 2 should actually be equal to a. And to find out b, you add the y coordinates and divide by 2. So d plus 0 divided by 2 should actually be equal to b. So this gives you c is equal to 2a, and this gives you d is equal to 2b. You put down these values over here. So x divided by 2a plus y divided by 2b is equal to 1. Now you multiply this equation both the sides with 2. So what you get x by a plus y by b is equal to 2 as your answer, and this is what was required to be proved. Okay, it wasn't that much difficult. Next question, find the equation of the line passing through the point of intersection of these two lines and which has equal intercepts on the axis. Okay, so there is one interesting thing you need to know. So suppose these are the two lines that are given to you. So the first line is 4x plus 7y minus 3 is equal to 0, and the second equation is 2x minus 3y plus 1 is equal to 0. Now we want to find out its point of intersection. How do we find it out? Just pause the video and think for a second. How do you find out the point of intersection? Okay, so remember what I told you, that there are many points on this line and all of these points should satisfy this equation. Say for example, if I say that minus 1 comma 2, just for an example, it may not lie on the line. If I say that minus 1 comma 2 lies on this line, it should satisfy this equation. Means if you put minus 1 in place of x and 2 in place of y, it should satisfy this equation. Similarly, there are many points on this line as well. All of these points should satisfy this equation. But what about the common point? Since this is the common point, it should satisfy this equation as well as this equation, and that's just, we need to solve these two equations, right? If you solve these two equations, what do you get? You get a combination of x and y which satisfies both of these equations, right? That is what equation solving means. Equation solving means there will be some combination of x and y which will satisfy this as well as this, and that will be actually our point of intersection. So pause the video and quickly solve these two equations for x and y and find out. I'm also doing it, and verify whether you're getting the same thing or not. So you get these two values on solving. X is equal to 1 by 13 and y is equal to 5 by 13. That means 1 by 13 comma 5 by 13 is the point of intersection. So clear so far. Which has equal intercept. Okay, now the question also says that the line we are interested in also have equal intercepts. That means suppose this is the required line, then its x and the y intercepts are equal. So both of them are suppose a. So this point is actually a comma 0 and this point is actually 0 comma a, and we know that if we are given the intercepts, we can quickly write down its equation as x by a plus y by b, but here the intercepts are equal, so it's y by a only, is equal to 1. So that means we can simplify, take a as the LCM and cross multiply, and we'll be getting x plus y is equal to a. You just take a as the LCM and cross multiply. Now it says that this line passes through this point, okay, because it passes through the point of intersection, which we have already found out. So this required line passes through the point of intersection. All you need to do is just put down 1 by 13 in place of x and 5 by 13 in place of y, and just find out the value of a. And what does a turn out to be? A turns out to be equal to 6 by 13. You just plug in the value of a over here and we are done with the equation. We have found out the equation. 13x plus 13y is equal to 6. This is the required equation of the line. Next, find the area of the triangle formed by the coordinate axis and the line this. Okay, so what the question says is that there is a particular line, this particular line, and there is a triangle which this line forms with the coordinate axis. These are the two coordinate axes. So this line makes some triangle with these two coordinate axes, and we want to find out the area of this triangle. Okay, so what is this line? Ax plus by is equal to 2ab. No problem. So our first task is to find out what is the length of these intercepts. So what we do, we write down this equation ax plus by is equal to 2ab in terms of the intercept form. So we divide all over with 2ab and 2ab. So a cancel out over here and b cancel out over here. We get x by 2b plus y by 2a is equal to 1. So my x intercept is actually 2b units and my y intercept is actually 2a units. So I have got the length of the base, so I have got the length of the base and the length of the perpendicular as well. So the area of triangle is half into base into perpendicular, or the height, whatever you may call it. So our area becomes equal to 2ab. So this is the area of the triangle that is formed. Let's take up one more question and hopefully this is the last question. The area of the triangle formed by the coordinate axis and the line is 6 square units. So this is exactly opposite of what we did as of now. So in the previous example, we were given the equation and we were asked to find out the area. But here we are given the area and we are asked to find out the equation of the line. So it says that the line makes a triangle of area equal to 6 square units. And also we are given one more thing, that the length of the hypotenuse. So this is the hypotenuse, of course, and the length of this hypotenuse is 5 units. And we are to find out the equation of the line. So assume that, okay, this length, this x-intercept is a units and this y-intercept is b units. So what is this point? 0 comma b. What is this point? This is a comma 0, and we know that the equation then becomes x by a plus y by b is equal to 1. All we need to do is just find out the values of a and b, plug them in the equation, and we are done. But how to find out a and b? Of course, we have conditions. First condition is the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle is 6, and we know that the area is half into base into height. So we get half into base into height. This is given to be 6. So we get AB is equal to 12 units. So this is the first equation that we get in terms of A and B. Now we are also given the hypotenuse. Okay. So we are given that the hypotenuse is 5 units, and we are given, of course, the perpendicular and the base. So remember Pythagoras. So Pythagoras said that, and I don't say, Pythagoras said, and I believe a square plus b square is equal to 5, because perpendicular square plus base square is equal to hypotenuse square. Sorry. So we get a square plus b square is equal to 25. So now all we need to do, we have two equations. This is the second equation. This is the first equation. All we need to do is solve these to find out the values of a and b, and just plug them in here and find out the equation. Again, you may get more than one equations. So let me help you with the solution. So AB is equal to 12. So I have an idea in my mind. Let's multiply with 2 on both the sides. 2AB is equal to 24. And instead of calling this as the first equation, let's call this as the first equation. And let's call this as my second equation. No problem. So now you add equation number 1 and 2. So a square plus b square plus 2ab is equal to 25 plus 24. So you get a plus b whole square is equal to 49, because a square plus b square plus 2ab can be written as a plus b the whole square. Now a plus b whole square is 49. That means a plus b can be either plus 7 or minus 7. Okay, no problem. Now if you subtract these two equations, equation number 1 and 2, what you get? A square plus b square minus 2ab is equal to 25 minus 24. So you get a minus b the whole square is equal to 1. So you get a minus b is either plus 1 or minus 1. All right. So now let me make up a little space over here. So what we got is that a plus b is either plus 7 or minus 7, and a minus b is either plus 1 or minus 1. So there will be actually 4 possibilities. Okay, so if you take a plus b equal to 7 and a minus b equal to 1 and solve them, you will be getting one particular pair of a and b. If you take let me clear up. If you take a equal to 7 and a plus b as 7 and a minus b as minus 1, and you again solve them, you will be getting one more pair of a and b. If now you take a plus b as minus 7 and a minus b as 1, you will be getting another pair of a and b. And if you take a plus b as minus 7 and a minus b as minus 1, you'll be getting yet another value or combination of a and b. So for all of these combinations, if you plug them one by one inside this equation, you'll be getting 4 different equations of straight lines, and all of these 4 equations will actually be your answer. So I'll leave it to you as an exercise to complete this question. Thanks a lot for bearing with A-level math. I think that these questions were not that much difficult, and these questions were actually not giving you a heart attack. But believe me, heart attacks are surely gonna come, because straight line has incredibly difficult questions. And don't worry, we'll be taking all of them step by step. and we'll be moving through all of those difficulties. Just bear with A level math and stay tuned. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.